Ever moved somewhere new and thought, if only I had knew that earlier? Yeah, well that was me in Norway. Today I'm spilling the tea on my biggest culture shock regrets I've had and things I'd seriously wish I'd done differently when I first got here. Let's go. Alright, so the number one thing I'd wish I'd done differently is not think that Norwegians were unfriendly. So when I first arrived here, I noticed a lot of the people were quiet and I thought they were being cold, right? They wouldn't talk to me. They were just very reserved. But as I was here longer and longer, I actually learned that this is how Norwegians are. They are very reserved and they're very quiet. And this is not to be mean to you. This is their way of showing you respect. So they're not going to be up in your face and they're not going to try and talk to you. They're just going to respect you and do about their day, which I really learned to value. And I'd wish I'd known this before I came here, because when I first arrived, I remember being at the tram station and I said hi to someone and they looked at me very confused, like, are you okay? And I thought that something was wrong. I'd said something wrong or I'd looked wrong or something was off about me, but no, it was actually them just being reserved and quiet. So I definitely wish I'd learned this earlier, but that was the first thing that definitely threw me off. Alright, so the next thing I regret not doing earlier is taking the public transportation. So when I first came to Norway, I still had the view that it would be the same as in the US. Now in California, from what I observed and what I experienced, is that going on public transportation always made me feel stressful. It was loud, it was chaotic, and honestly, it wasn't that calm. And when I came to Norway, I honestly refused taking it because I really thought it was similar. But then I remember the first time I went on the bus, and I couldn't believe it. I could not believe my eyes. It was so calm. Everyone was minding their own business. There was barely any noise. You could basically hear somebody blinking or even a pen drop. That's how quiet it was. And then after taking it for many times, I fell in love with it. I was like, it's so cool that you can just hop on a tram in the middle of the city and take it for about 10 minutes and get to where you need to be. Everyone is quiet, everyone is calm, everyone is doing their own thing, and you don't even feel stressed because most of the time it's on time. So this was something I definitely wish I'd done earlier, is taking the public transportation. But also in California, a lot of people don't take it. It's not common to. So that also made me uneasy to take it. But once I did, I fell in love with it. Alright, so the next thing I wish I'd done differently is adjust my money habits and mindset. So coming from California, especially Silicon Valley, I thought nowhere could beat the prices of the groceries there or the prices of anything there. But after coming to Norway, I remember the first time I arrived here and I went to a restaurant/bar and I ordered a drink. And I remember looking at the price and being like, $10 for this? That was the price of a single drink. And that's when I learned, okay, I definitely need to adjust, because even in the grocery stores, the food prices are extremely high. You know, I was like, this is basically like California. And when I saw that, I was just so shocked. So I think it was a good, culture shock, because I needed to buy things from the store, not go out as much, not go out to restaurants as much, and just make the home cooked meals, which I am not upset about. I love to make home cooked meals. It's healthy, you save money, and it tastes great. So that's something I definitely wish I'd done earlier, is adjust my spending habits, because it just can really add up if you're not careful. So you gotta be careful. I remember even going to Sweden and remembering how cheap the grocery store prices were there. And it was like, wow, Norway is just very expensive. Alright, so the next thing I'd wish I'd done differently is spend more time outdoors when I first got here. Now for Norwegians, this is a huge thing they love to do. They love to be outdoors. They love hiking, cycling, cross-country skiing, normal skiing. Everything you can imagine outdoors, they'll do it. And this is especially common on Sundays when a lot of people will be outdoors hiking. Now, when I first got here, I wasn't outside that much. I would maybe occasionally go on a little walk outside or just outside to get some air. And I realized that I should have been outside more, especially as I explored more and more hikes or different routes and different nature. And when I did these, I fell in love. I wanted to do it every single weekend, every single day. And now it has become a huge part of my life, because nature can really heal you, and Norwegians are the most friendly when they're outdoors. So that's also another great way to be able to say hi to people, get a little small talk in, but it really does help you, and it cleared my mind. And I realized I felt so connected because the nature here is just so beautiful, and there's so many amazing hikes you can go on, so many beautiful viewpoints. It's just amazing. I have never seen more beautiful nature than in Norway. And it just helps me, every time I go out in nature, I just feel connected and I feel a sense of peace, like inner peace. It's like, you just feel so good, especially with the beautiful air here. And I think this is a key thing to happiness, especially for a lot of Norwegians. Being out in nature is their happiness. It's something that they love to do and they can't live without, which now I understand why they do it. And I've never been a really big hiker, but now I literally hike almost every weekend, because when you're in a country that is just so beautiful, you can't resist it. But it's still just so beautiful outside. So that's something I'd wish I'd done earlier, is just taken that leap and gone outside. You know, even if I was a little scared because it was my first time in a new country, I wish I'd done it earlier. All right, so the next thing I regret not doing earlier is still thinking that Norway moves at a similar pace to California. So when I used to live in California, through my observations, I observed that the people there were always in the hustle bustle mindset, and it never seemed like they took the time to just sit at a cafe and relax and slow down. And I remember the first time I came to Norway, I went to a cafe and I was sitting there for like an hour and I just felt lazy. I felt like people were gonna judge me. They were gonna think, oh, why is this guy not working, or why is this guy not doing something? But after sitting there for maybe 1.5 hours to 2 hours, I realized this is normal here. People take the time to sit down and relax and breathe and enjoy their coffee and not have to be in a rush all the time. You know, they don't answer work messages if they don't have to. You know, through my observations, what I saw was most people would just go to a cafe, get their coffee, and leave and go on to the next thing. They're taking the time for themselves and they're taking the time to enjoy themselves. It's not all about rushing and doing the next thing. You're allowed to take time and relax, and it's seen as the norm here. And once I learned that, I was like, wow, this is a beautiful way of living. It's really amazing, you know. All right, so the next thing I'd wish I'd done differently is taking the weather more seriously. So in California, when I used to live there, the weather wasn't that crazy, so I wouldn't have to take it that seriously. If there was rain, it was usually a light drizzle, maybe some moderate rain occasionally, but nothing too crazy, right? No freezing temperatures, no wind. But since coming to Norway, I have learned that I gotta take the weather seriously. I remember the first time I came here and I went outside in a rainstorm, and I was just walking for a little bit and I saw, you know, Norwegians wearing their raincoats, their rain boots, and I was like, this isn't that bad, right? Come on. But then I started walking and I was like, okay, I gotta go change my clothes and actually put on real winter clothing or rain clothing, because this is serious. It was pouring down so hard and my hair was literally soaked. It was like I'd taken a shower basically. And then also I remember when I walked outside and it was really cold and I just saw Norwegians wearing their big winter coats, sweaters and scarves, and I was like, oh, this is probably like California, right? Not that cold. But then I started walking and literally my teeth were chattering. I was shivering and I was like, okay, Nicolas, you got to take this stuff seriously, because this is not California weather. This is true Scandinavian weather. And the extremes is what really gets me here, right? It's like super cold and windy and rainy. So I wish I'd definitely done my homework on the weather and research what I should buy before I came here, what I need to get, you know, or what I should buy when I get here. All right, and the last thing I'd wish I'd done earlier is trying to fill the silence every second. So back in the US, basically any place you go, there's always going to be some sort of small talk, and silence is awkward, so people are going to try to fill it as best as they can. And when I first came to Norway, I remember just standing in an elevator and just nobody was talking. And I felt very awkward. I was like, is someone gonna talk? Or even just standing in line for groceries, you feel like you wanna talk, right? Because nobody's talking, everyone's just so quiet. But then I learned that this is Norwegians' way of being peaceful and not always wanting to fill the silence. You don't have to always do that. Silence is okay and it's acceptable. And I really felt great after I adapted this. I embraced it and I was like, this actually feels nice to not have to talk all the time and just stand there and appreciate what's going on, or just relax. You know, it's like in a spa, you don't want to be talking, you just want to be relaxed. And that's how I feel now. It's like, okay, people are not talking. That's okay. That's how it's supposed to be. You don't have to talk all the time and you're not expected to. So that's something I wish I'd done earlier, is just embrace the silence, you know? All right, guys, and that does it for the video. Things I'd wish I'd done differently before coming to Norway. If you guys enjoyed the video, please make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment, as it really helps me out. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.